Welcome. I'm Dean Mitchell, and this is Fucking Beef Show. I'd really like to talk about something that's very disconcerting to me, and that's Bill C-10. Why is it disconcerting to me? A gentleman who has just stepped into the ring of social media and is loving having a platform. One of my platforms that I robustly stand and do my soft shoe dance for dimes and nickels is my loathing of our prime minister. Yeah, really got a problem with the guy. He is turning into, his father to the second power. I really feel like this is a step in the wrong direction, just in the fact that the door is cracked open in this amendment that gives them the power of saying, okay, I'm going to use me as an example in a fantasy world. My fantasy. What gets me wood in the morning now? No, it's not that juicy neighbor wearing a bikini. No, it's me dreaming of becoming an online celebrity. No, that's not it. I could give two fucks, but I'd sure love to make a living at this again. It was a great pleasure to sit and chat and try and get your point across to people and hope that they do kind of agree with you in a certain sense, don't you think? Yeah, I do. It's empowering, to say the least. So, let's get back to subject. Bill C-10. I just don't like that there are cracks in the door. The amendment that was put in the bill to get the conservatives to let it slide was taken out, and an amendment was made on it by the Liberal governing party, of course. The conservatives didn't like that they were kind of boonswoggled into helping pass this thing. Now, here we are. It's going to become law because the Bloc Québécois have said, guess what? We're in. Mr. Blanchette is in. So the Bloc will help along with Jagmeet in the back going, hey, don't forget about me. I'm on chip too. And they're just, keep stroking away there, Jag. And they're leaving the door open for a Liberal government to say, all right, you are talking too many bad things about our awesome prime minister with the great hair at his age. It's still so wonderfully. I wonder how much conditioner he uses. Probably quite a bit. It's just so wonderful that they have to kind of protect the dude, and you can't be talking bad things about this prime minister. He's a very sensitive man, you have to admit. So let's keep on track. Let's focus now. A government that actually could step in and say, look at, sir, you have become, number one, too big. You're acting like a broadcaster now. You have, 10,000 views every week, and you're making a lot of money now, and we'd like to regulate you. That stuff that you're saying about the prime minister must end. Or, quite frankly, we'll drop you down in the algorithms, and you'll disappear. Nobody will see you unless they search you out. You'll never get any of those drive-by purchases, so to speak. Nobody's going to care about your show because they won't see it. It's going to be like racketeering. Extortion is what it's going to come down to. You just mind your own business about the prime minister and don't call him Captain Crayon anymore. He just doesn't like it. Okay. So, the internet was fun while it lasted in Canada. And meanwhile, a lot of bad things are probably going to get tossed off the internet. And I guess that's not a bad thing. But you have to have those polar opposites to be able to see what evil looks and sounds like? Are you going to lose a few people to the dark side? Well, yes, that's very possible. But we have to be exposed to the dark side to know exactly what it is. And then the moral compass inside that person will make that decision. And so I don't like having any freedom of speech or subject of speech taken into the government's hands. But it's always such a cloudy area because you do have subjects that you really don't want to hear about. But it's important to know that evil like the Holocaust exists and existed and exists, quite frankly. Even in civilized nations like my home country, if you think about what happened to the indigenous people here, now it wasn't a violent type of, and I hate to use this term, it wasn't a violent type of genocide, but it certainly was a genocide in a certain way. When you give away blankets that are infected with smallpox to the local natives when it's a very cold winter outside, and you know what you're doing, it's pretty plain and simple, don't you think? I do. So I just don't like that kind of government control where you can't hear about the things that are going on. Well, the government went into a house, they raided this place, and they took everything of this guy's, put him in jail, ruined his fucking credit, had to sell his house to pay for the lawyers, to blah, 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 blah. The guy's out of business. Pardon me. He's out of business. And now you have to struggle with the fact that you're destitute. You've lost an income if you are a guy online, all because you wouldn't do what the big cheese wants you to do. I mean, it's Big Brother all over again. Somebody out there read 1984 in the Liberal Party or Liberal supporters and take a look, because it sure feels like that's the dystopian future that we are heading towards. And it all comes down to one bill. Well, maybe I'm oversimplifying it and overstating the situation, but I really believe that, man, we are subject to some pretty dictatorship-like censorship here. It's frightening. And I guess we'll find out if Trudeau is a man of his word or if he is actually working for somebody else, if he's just a puppet on some strings, which I honestly believe is the situation here. He is not smart enough to carry that big of a package, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm not talking about his lower extremities. We all know there's some tiny little things down in there in his golf bag. And he's only carrying, 3 iron, 4 iron maybe? Anyway, I digress, as I will do on occasion. Sorry if it's not satisfactory for you, but I do that. So try and keep up. So in the end, it feels like a dictatorship. It's starting to walk like a censorship dictatorship. Is this bill a stamp of communist censorship or whatever you want to call this dictator? Dictator. If that is his goal, is to censor everything and keep all of the negative away and actually be able to squish creators out there via algorithms, and you can put all of the happy-do-lazy liberals all to the top and move your unhappy, grumbly, old, young conservatives to the bottom, even centrists, people that just don't, you have too many right-leaning ideas. You're out. You could censor all of those people and end up in a liberal utopia. And we're almost there. It seems like some of the media giants in Canada, and how many are there now? There's 3 independent stations left. There's not many left, and they're all conglomerates. And when you have a trough that's quite huge and you have 3 very comfortable members munching away at the big trough, all have their fair share, more or less. Some are fatter than others because they've been around longer. They're all really quite happy, and they're not going to go and dig deep and find the stories that attract viewers. I'm talking about news media, of course, in Canada. The other part of news media in Canada, if you're not under the C10 thumb, is the extremist stuff, the stuff that's whack, man. It's going to be taken off of there. Great. No more Holocaust deniers, no more anti-antis, whatever you are, supremacists, Christian supremacists, some jihadists, let's say, working against Western civilization. Those are things that you can squish out. Great. Oh, that's fantastic. But again, your power will... How could you not? Somebody's really bashing my vision. I don't like it. It's just like TikTok or any social media. You can ban that person from your life, from your existence, and you can make your world better. When I'm on TikTok, I hate banning people. I think I banned one guy. We had a terrible dust up, and I banned him. And I didn't feel great about it because I always try and not block people rather. And darn it, he had been a follower of mine on TikTok, and boy, we had a real good texting dust up. And I sent the spade in a little too deep on one of my comments, and it pissed him off to the point of where he sent me a video publicly and, requested some boxing, a young guy against an old man box. But you know what? I helped prod him on. I'm pretty good at it. I've been doing it since high school, right? When you're a smaller guy and everybody's a little bit bigger than you, you have to use the weapons that you have. And, well, it's my tongue. For more than one thing, I might add. Thank you very much. And so, I was pretty good at it, and I really got him upset. Anyway, long story short, a good Saskatchewan bye that he is. Really great people in Saskatchewan. I love them because they can sit back and go, oh boy, I made a bit of a boo-boo. And he reached out to me through his wife's account. It was awesome. And now he's back into the flock, so to speak, and he hasn't said much, and I don't kind of blame him. I would be a little bit embarrassed about what happened, but at the same breath, I was complicit as well, too. But I was able to block him because I didn't like what he was saying. That's the kind of power that it would work on. In this case, if you have one or two people deciding, yeah, that's not right, and quite frankly, it's not really in the favor of the governing party right now. My boss would be really choked if I let this guy who's calling our prime minister a whatever kind of criminal activity you can think of that's disgustingly low, and you call him that, and you get suddenly banned to Nowhereville in the algorithms, and you get pulled off the air, get a fined. Who knows? Is it going to apply to a guy that has no views and no followers? I don't know. I don't know. But certainly if you get to a point where you have an audience of a national scale, you will, without doubt, become a target for the CRTC. And you will suddenly have to follow broadcasting rules. Now, I can do that. I can turn off my swear mouth at any time, and I can crank it up at any time. I have done it long enough to have control over that. Occasionally, when your emotions take over and you lose it, yes, you can say some things. I did in my first week of broadcasting, my first week. And fortunately, you couldn't hear that I had left the mic on. I had pushed myself away from the control panel just far enough that the music I had just started to spin. Yes, spin. It's a small market station, radio station. And you couldn't hear what I said. And I dropped the good bomb there, the F-bomb for sure. So anyway, I survived, and you sort of learn to lose those things. Now, I think I could do it, but the problem is that I don't want to. I love the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, the freedom of religion, all of those charter, chapter 2 or section 2 bits about our freedoms as Canadians. I love those. And to have somebody come up to you and say, no, you can't do that, I think is pretty abysmal. In essence, we are going to be gagged, and that again comes down to Big Brother, and we only see what the Liberal government or whoever is presiding over our parliament at the time wants you to see. What do I think? Now, having said all of this stuff, coming up on the 20-minute mark here, having said all of these things about C10 and how it affects us and all of the analogies that I've used, I just want to say that this is one of those seminal moments, that points towards our future. And it's one of those subtle things that points towards our future. And I think that we have to be far more alert and paying attention to these subtle, small bills like this. They're leading to a direction that I guarantee you Canadians do not want to go. And this will lead to other things. If I want to talk about that, we could talk about how divided our country is right now. The left and the right are crazy. And I don't know another term to use on this other than balls sitting in your hands at the dinner table with your mother-in-law right across from you. That's crazy. And I think there are some people that are that crazy right now. Kevin J. Johnston, for instance, in Calgary. Calgary's elect mayor or mayor-elect. Wow. There are some balls out at the dinner table in front of your mother-in-law. Fortunately, she can't see because the table's blocking the way. That really are batshit crazy about this guy. He's a nutbar and an instigator and loves the camera. But he loves the cameras for all of the wrong reasons. One way or another, I think people are enjoying doing this stuff because of the camera and because of the exposure. It's almost one of those weird quirks, a little kink, man. I like people to see me and judge me. Another digression and offshoot from my original subject. So a lot of these Kevin J. Johnstons of the world are going to get butt kicked out of the internet and off the internet. They'll find ways. They always have, right? Okay, so I think it's time I moved on to a bit of a subject that I would like to talk about, and that, of course, is the divisions in this country. The divisions run extremely deep in Canada right now. So deep that there is no room for discourse. There is no room for your opinion. That's troubling. It's not the Canadian way. Words can be said in anger. I've done it many times. But the essence of the message has to be heard. As I mentioned earlier, I don't block people from my TikTok account. I don't do it. The one person I did have to do that I blocked, and I don't mean block. I should clarify that. I've blocked lots of people. What I should clarify is what I meant to say is reported. Report and block. And on many occasions I have said that unequivocally, without any prejudice, I will block people. And why will I block them? I will block them for speaking ill of other people, some other commenters perhaps, or just coming right at me, with some bullshit. Without doubt, I will do it. But if it's I'm coming at you with knowledge, research, respect, I'm all in. I will not block you. I have to admit that I did a TikTok based on my anger. Had some friends that caught COVID, and and I mean, how else did they get it? Most likely because he was working up north. Where he was working at the time was a massive hotspot. Unfortunately, a lot of that hotspot was because that's where a lot of mask deniers and COVID seriousness deniers are working. And he caught it. Not everybody up north is thinking this is all bullshit and absolutely an undercover operation. It's a grift where we're all being fooled, and every healthcare worker around the planet is in on it. So it's an amazing thing, right? It's dark, deep, and terrible. And I just don't really buy that aspect. There are too many mouths to keep shut. Yes, we have 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe I've seen 12 nurses out of how many hundreds and hundreds of thousands? You got 10, 12 doctors, and I know of at least 2 of that I've seen in the news that have passed from COVID, even though they were denying the shit out of it. Just saw a guy out east who, 2-3 weeks ago or more, was giving a speech at a protest out in Toronto, somewhere in Ontario, and owner of a big food chain down there. Just last week, he tweeted from his bed. I'm not sure if it's his hospital bed or home. I'm presuming it was a hospital bed. He was on oxygen and telling his friends and followers who have been following him, because he has been an anti-COVID guy out there, saying, it's not serious, it's a flu, blah, 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 all of the general rhetoric. And he's knocked up with COVID. Pregnant with COVID. Big time. Scared for his life. So, a friend of mine who caught it, he was, I will say, a soft non-believer in the virus. Really good guy, down to earth, country folk. His wife is absolutely terrific. I worked with her, and that's where I met him. And I won't use their names, but they are just fan-frickin-tastic people. And they live outside of Edmonton on what I will describe as a large acreage, shy of a farm, but very large acreage. They have horses and such. And just terrific people. And he was always sort of in denial about it. And the last I'd seen, he was sending pictures of him working in, I believe it's an earth scraper. I'm not sure, maybe an excavator of some sorts. And he was feeding, this is the type of guy he is. He was feeding a crow. I think it was a crow. Crow or a bird of some sorts. I don't know. That's been a few weeks since this was on. Anyway, regardless, just a great guy. That type of guy, you know. Bird comes up to his excavator. He doesn't shoo it off. He tries to feed it. You see what I mean? That's that type of guy. And even though he was like, I don't trust you. What's up, Doc? You know, I don't trust you guys. And he had mentioned that it was just a flu a few times. And we had never, ever gotten into it because I respect people's opinions. And he's just not the type of guy I want to get into an argument with. Number one, he'd probably kick my ass because he's a country boy. But number two, he was just a good guy. And I didn't want to spoil a relationship because I have opposing views of him because he was a great guy. And his wife was just a special, is a special person. Shouldn't say was. She was a COVID carrier, but now she's surviving and recovering with her husband at home. Just spectacular to go from a ventilator for over 2 weeks, really, and to be back at home. But he is in recovery. He said he is still hurting big time, but is actually can feel that he is absolutely getting better in recovery. So it's a real thing, and my wife works in the medical profession. A lot of guys out there assume that she's a nurse, but no, she's not a nurse. She's certainly not a nurse in ICU, but she's in emergency all the time. Part of her job is taking care of emergency and not just patients that come into the lab, but she's in emergency and has taken blood on COVID patients many times. Okay. So I know it's real through her. How could you not believe your wife, right? When you're in a marriage, you have to believe your wife. You have to trust them completely. And if you don't, you shouldn't be married to her. Period. So that's where my basis of my belief in this whole COVID thing comes from. I believe in the virus. I do not believe in the way it has been handled by our government or a small but large enough percentage to be, what the fuck, portion of our population, and the way they've handled it in utter and complete denial that their government, regardless of the government that we have, I don't like the guy. I can't stand him. And if you've watched your TikTok on my channel, you know how I feel about our current government and its leader. But I do believe in this virus, and I do believe that every Canadian, every Albertan, British Columbian, Saskatchewan, blah, blah, should have the responsibility of every other Canadian in their thoughts. The responsibility of, I have to help look after them because they are going to help look after me. In some provinces, there was very little compliance right off the bat. And immediately, because of the influence of QAnon and the internet and some of the conspiracy theories that I find extremely compelling, I might add, but I also find them too much over the edge. And I think as we've gone along with, especially with QAnon and some of the other projections that were going on from all of this satanic rituals and eating of children and the sexual trade and all of that horrific stuff, we have found out recently that a lot of that was projection. Yeah. And that generally is a way for some of the underbelly of societies to get you to look in the other direction. They are so busy pointing at other people that you can't see that their thumbs are pointing at them, right? At themselves. Anyway, guys, so I just want everybody to know that I'm going to spend a lot of time on this occasionally because I said I was embarrassed by my fellow Albertans, and I shouldn't have sounded so generalized because I think I did hurt a few and piss off a few people that are thinking, even though they're trying to do their part, they're thinking, what, you asshole? But I was certainly talking to an exclusive group, even though, as I said, I know there are so many good people that I accused of being piss poor Albertans. And I do regret that to a certain degree, but there are certainly people out there whom I'm glad that I had the sifter out and sifted through my followers. Got to a certain point where it probably needed to be done, I guess. A lot of people thought I was pretty heavy left wing because of my loathing of the leadership in this country. And I don't blame them for getting sucked into that because I was getting very angry often when expressing my opinions. Most of the time, though, I want everybody to know that this is a shtick, what I'm doing on TikTok. I've got a fucking beef. Now, the fucking beef show, for sure, it's all about beefs. You will find that my podcast coming up is going to be about side beefs. One of the regular segments of my podcast will be called Side of Beef. Sports beef, entertainment beefs, you name it, I'm going to talk about it in my podcast. And we'll always try my best to have some compelling guests and just people from my life as well, too, that I think have opinions that are worthy of listening to. And I'm really looking forward and trying very, very hard to get my message across on TikTok so that I can get 1,000 followers on YouTube and we can go live there and start crisscross promoting the podcast that is upcoming, no doubt. Just closing up some fine line stuff and we should be ready to go soon. It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, that is for sure. But got the YouTube channel up and running. Episode number 3, that you're watching right now. I'm sorry for rambling, but this is the way it's going to be sometimes. And occasionally I will have guests on the YouTube channel as well. And we're certainly going to talk about more things than just politics. I can guarantee you that. We are going to have what you call exclusive content right here on the Fucking Beef YouTube channel. And boy, if you've ever got anything to say, please say it, guys. I really want to hear what you have to say. Just be respectful. That is all I ask. If you think I'm a moron, find a creative, funny way to do it in the very least. And then, we can go from there. If you've been working in broadcasting, as long as I did, which was not a great deal amount of time compared to some guys that have been on the air for their entire adult lives. But you do learn quite quickly that you're going to have people that just don't like you. No matter what you do, I don't like you. My bubbly sweet wife, who's a lot of fun and just a great person, she has a local broadcaster here in Edmonton that she just despises. And it's like, how? You hate somebody? What? So it's going to happen. And I must admit, there's a few people that I probably feel I do feel bad about losing as followers and potential subscribers on my YouTube channel. But at the same time, hey man, if you think Trump was a really fantastic fucking president, and you think his policies and the way he was and his character, we wouldn't have a lot to talk about when it comes to the former president. Good things, that's for sure. But I'd still like to hear about it respectfully and respectfully back. I will return things absolutely respectfully back. And that's about it. I mean, if you're a Liberal supporter, I would love to hear from you, because I want to know what the fuck are you thinking? And I'll certainly tell you what I'm thinking, because I'm an open book, sometimes to a frigging fault. It's sad. And more along the lines, too, of my YouTube channel is that I will talk to you about me. Leave me a question if you ever want to know anything about my life, and it's a pertinent thing and not too private. I'll certainly get into it with you. I don't have too many problems with that. My family is the type of family that will, if you're in the room and you want to hear about my problems, well, I'm going to tell you about them and be honest about it too. Okay, and let's start right now. I'll tell you about one of my problems now. As an older person now, and staring the old seniors discount in the eyes, I have to tell you about my health. I'm a healthy 56-year-old guy that has polycystic kidney disease. My dad had a transplant. My grandma passed away because of it, and being stubborn as well too. My aunt, my dad's sister, has passed away relatively early because of it. She did not get a transplant, whereas my dad did, and he was very lucky. So I know what my future is. I know I probably only have, at 56, I probably know. Well, probably no. I'm saying probably because it does make me nervous to talk about this, because at my age now, it is starting to affect me physically. And so it is tough to talk about, but it's something that I'm going to tell you about as the last portion or segment of this particular YouTube show, fucking beef show. And this I find to be a fucking annoying beef, because at 30, just shy of 30, when I found out I had the disease, because I was looking at donating a kidney to my dad, my sisters went first, and they found out that they do not have polycystic kidney disease, PKD. And when I found that out, that both of my sisters were negative for the disease, I was like, shit. My odds just went through the roof. They're 50-50 as it is. So 3 kids, and 2 of them, woohoo, we're in the clear. The third kid, he's fucked. And that's me. So I got it, and I'm not happy about it now. The kidneys are starting to deform, and one of them has enlarged and gotten a little misshapen. So it hasn't affected how they work as of yet, but that is absolutely inevitable. And when it strikes home, I've put it off for so many years, 20 some odd years, that it's just around the corner type of thing, but the corner is, yeah, 25 years seems to have gone rather quickly. So, that's me. I think about that often, and I think about my health. Has COVID affected me as far as how am I thinking about my PKD? No, it hasn't actually. Fortunately, it doesn't affect your kidneys, rather. It affects your lungs. So that hasn't scared me in that aspect. What has made me pause is the vaccine, getting the vaccine. So I've done quite a bit of research on it. I have held off, whereas I could go and get a vaccine anytime because of my kidney disease. I have held off. And but I am now ready to make that decision. My sisters have both had it, my brother-in-laws, and they're just fine. So far, nothing. But so that's one of my big concerns for me, health-wise, is how this is going to affect me in 15, 20 years. Now, I've seen it, what it does to my aunt and my dad. I've seen what it does to them. And it's different. And I have to look it in the eyes and think that, I only have so much time. So what did I enjoy doing in my life? Well, talking and broadcasting. I enjoyed what I'm doing right now, and that is babbling incessantly for 40 some odd minutes straight and hoping that somebody will view this and that I can get enough views on the YouTube channel to keep me behind a microphone rather than stressing myself out and getting my blood pressure way up there, working at a sales job. When I quit broadcasting, it was to, damn it, now I'm getting into a complicated, deep story about myself. So let's just move on. I have PKD. It is going to affect me in a bad way. I will need a kidney, most likely. My son, my middle son, I guess, is a prime candidate for the drugging, taking to India and stealing his kidney. His kidneys are like, Hulk kidneys. They're work ridiculously good. So when he pees, it's basically water you could drink. That's how powerful his kidneys are. And one day he's going to sit in this chair over here and we're going to talk football. I'm looking forward to that because he's cranked up on football. And so hopefully, and he has already said, yeah, I'll give you my kidney in a second. He's that type of guy. So I'm really looking forward to stealing his kidney from him and going all the way to the end zone with his kidney. Yeah, so that's going to affect me in a few years. So why am I doing this? Because I really want to get back into broadcasting. Once I was out of it for about 10 or 15 years, I made a couple of attempts to get back into it, but not in a broadcasting fashion, not in an announcer fashion, as I hadn't worked in a long time. I didn't have any pertinent, up-to-date tapes of what I could do on the air. And I'd changed. I wasn't the same person. I wasn't anywhere near that person, that worked on the air almost 20 years ago now. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me to try getting back into it. And up until, I don't know, a couple of years ago, it didn't really dawn on me that, the internet could be a way of becoming a broadcaster again. So I was really looking forward to that. So here it is, episode 3, Down the Tubes. I hope you enjoyed it. It's the fucking Beef Show. Look me up on TikTok at Dean Mitchell 19 and Instagram as well. It's Canadian_beef 19. Also fucking beef 65, which hasn't got anything on it as of yet, but we're moving on to that quickly. I've got merch and stuff. You can see it on my TikTok bio. And there's one of the shirts there, and there's a sticker there. Help support this wonderful studio that I built here. Help support the fucking Beef channel. I hope I explained to a lot of my former followers my thinking about why I said what I said. Am I sorry that I said it? No. Am I sorry that I upset probably some responsible Albertans and some good people? Yeah, but there are some people that I'm not sorry at all about. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon for episode 4 of the fucking Beef YouTube channel.